Alright, so every day around the world, many, many people are born. Thousands of people. Tens and hundreds of thousands of people are born every single day. Approximately 350,000 people are born every single day. That's almost 10 people a second. That's an insane number of people. And just in the United States last year, over 11,700 people were born each day. These are people born into an insane amount of potential, an insane amount of possibility where you can do almost anything. In America, you have the right and the ability to do almost anything your heart desires if you put your mind to it. We have this, we don't really understand it, but we have this incredible power as citizens of America with this amount of freedom and these things that we're given to us, these things that are in our society that we can live up to, and this is incredible. But thousands of people die also every day from different things, and the number one cause of death in America is heart disease. A lot of people think it might be cancer or accidents or things like that, but the number one most common way to die in America is heart disease. This is kind of unbelievable because most people don't know that many people with heart disease or don't even know what it is. And heart disease kills 27.1 million people a year in America alone. That's 11.8% of people in the United States will die from heart disease. That's incredible. That's like 3 people in this room. Actually, that's like 2, but we can round up here. Also, diabetes. Diabetes is one of the most common illnesses that people can have. 24.5 million people have or will have diabetes in America. That's 10.7% of people. This is the number 7 most popular or common way to die in America. So with these two together, this is by far an incredibly high amount of deaths. And in America, with this potential we have, you think that we would have cracked the code for how to solve and cure heart disease and diabetes, but no. With all this, I'm not going to get into the stuff with like McDonald's and all these bad foods that we have, but it's just this incredibly high number of people have these diseases, and there's not much you can do about it after you contract it. So this is America. In America, given a poll, a widespread poll across America in every state, thousands of people, 90% of Americans consider themselves in excellent or good quality health. This is kind of hard to believe because most people, get colds a lot and they're sick. A lot of people have cancer. A lot of people have major illnesses, but 90% of Americans consider themselves in good health. As opposed to in Africa, only 14.5% of the population considers themselves in good health. Almost 3 times as many people in America, or in Africa, die from heart disease than in America. In America, it is just laden with horrible amounts of cholesterol and other things that are really, really unhealthy for your heart. This is an exorbitantly high number of people who have heart disease in Africa, and we really even think about that. When you think of saving Africa or saving the world, you're going to think of ways to stop the wars, ways to stop cancer, child abuse, these things that are really widespread. But heart disease is actually probably more prevalent than all of those. And in Nigeria alone, most of the population, 92% of the population, lives on $2 or less a day. This is an incredibly low amount of money that we think, but with the way it is, that's just the only thing they have. And so I'm going to get into flossing now. Flossing is something that we kind of overlook. 50.5% of Americans say they floss every day, but we all know that that's not true. But flossing is something that it's just part of our daily routine for some. It's not something we think about. You don't know why you floss really, it makes you have better breath and your teeth look good. But flossing is actually really, really important for many, many reasons. If you don't floss, the gunk in your mouth builds up and it forms this thing called tartar. You've probably heard of it. Toothpaste probably says tartar control or something like that on it. But when this tartar builds up, it hardens. And as it hardens, you can't just brush your teeth and get this tartar away. It's going to harden up to a point where you can only get rid of it with professional help. And in Nigeria or South Africa, where you live on $2 a day, you're not going to have enough money or the resources to get the professional help you need to get rid of this tartar. It's going to build up, and it's going to be extremely easy to catch diseases. In your mouth, bacteria thrives incredibly. That's why it's so important to have oral hygiene. In fact, the ADA, or the American Dental Association, sent out a public service announcement a few years ago saying that oral hygiene is a necessity for every American and every citizen of the world. Because when bacteria gets in your mouth, it just explodes like cancer. It's such a damp environment with so many of the necessary nutrients and resources that it just continuously grows and reproduces and has more and more and more. And this can lead very quickly to something called tooth and gum disease. Tooth and gum disease is a widespread category that covers things like toothaches or gingivitis. And this can lead to you having to get teeth removed or having to go to the dentist for emergency tartar removal. And this is very painful stuff, but it's much better to have these painful procedures than not have them, because as this continues to get worse, this contributes to systematic multiple organ diseases like heart disease, coronary heart disease. This is one of the types of heart disease that's the most prevalent, and these can inevitably lead in death. A lot of people die from these diseases from just not flossing. I think this is really bad because, as you can see here, it only costs $1 for 40 packages of floss, like this. It's not much, $1 for 40 of these. These have up to 300 yards of floss in it. It looks small, but that's a ton of floss in this little package. And if these areas, these third world countries that don't have access to these, if they had them, then that could prevent hundreds or thousands of deaths. And in these countries, or in America alone, 23.7% of Americans lack oral care, something that we take for granted. And 43% of Americans will have gingivitis, but compared to these countries, it's a lot more than that. So, in comparison to these countries that really need this floss, we have bad teeth as a country, but they have much worse, and they need this a lot more than we do. So, something that we need to do as citizens of America, as part of this worldwide society of humans, we need to care for one another. We need to make it as fair as possible so that everyone has this insane amount of potential like we do. We need to give them a chance and hope for a future. So donating to these companies like the World Dental Relief or the RMHC.org. This is the Ronald McDonald House Children's Care. So this is like in McDonald's, you see you can put a penny in for with the little children who are happy, but this goes towards a much greater cause than we really imagine. And also Project Healthy Smile. These are all websites or organizations that you can donate to, and they will pass out these floss and other things like toothbrushes and toothpaste and pamphlets that let people know why it is so important to floss and keep your mouth healthy. It's something that's really overlooked in the grand scheme of things, but it's probably one of the most important things that we need to maintain our quality care of. And heart disease. Yeah, this is just a graph to show how prevalent heart disease is. This is crazy. And so if we really need to care about the world like we do, we need to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to have these same resources that we do. Floss is something that you don't even think about it because it's so cheap in America, but it might take a day's work just to buy this thing of floss in another country. It's incredible, and they don't even have access to it. So we need to help them and give it to them so that they don't have to work really hard to get it themselves, because they also need the opportunity to live.